Well, I'll begin. Welcome to Hawkwatch training, and thanks for joining in tonight. It's the presentation will be delivered in two parts. The first part, I'll go over the introduction to the Hawkwatch experience, like what to expect when you're up on the ridge, and then we'll take a short 5-minute break, and then the second part will be focused upon the identification of the common raptors that we'll see up on Dinosaur Ridge. Just those specific ones. So here we go. Just a brief history. Hawkwatch began back in 1990 with Dwayne Nelson and Chuck Preston on behalf of the fledgling Western Foundation for Raptor Conservation, now Hawkwatch International. In 1993, we made history. We gained notoriety. 241 migrating ferruginous hawk were observed. And nothing close to that has been observed since. We get a bunch, but not nearly, if a fourth of that. So anyway, and that's kind of typical of what Hawkwatch has been. There have been a lot of ups and downs with brief periods of volunteers, a few years of paid staff. The Denver Museum of Nature and Science helped to fund the construction of the platform. And when the chairman of the DMNS moved on, the funding was dropped as the new chair had different interests than birds. So we lost that and for a while, and then the funding was picked up by the Bird Conservancy of the Rockies. And during that time, Jeff Bierek coordinated the effort up on the ridge. It was no paid staff, and it was all run by volunteers. So in 2020, BCR abandoned the effort up at Dino Ridge, and DFO agreed to pick up the effort as a community science project. And we formed the Hawkwatch Committee and earmarked funding to support a paid hawk counter, which for the first time in long time have we had a professional up on the ridge. This year will be the second year with the same person. Emma Riley will be up full-time with our hawk count. And in the meantime, another great accomplishment is that Hawkwatch Committee formed a coalition of 5 organizations in 2022, and today we have 6. This is a view of the Hawkwatch sign that we put up in cooperation with Jefferson County that shows the Denver field ornithologists as the lead, and contributors include Colorado field ornithologists, the Hawk Migration of North America, HMANA, Jefferson County Open Space, JEFCO, and Denver Audubon. So everybody's pitched in one way or another to really create and sustain this effort on Dinosaur Ridge. You know, we're all committed to the scientific study, enjoyment, and appreciation of raptor migration. And we are thankful to have you tonight and your support, which we couldn't be successful without. So just some thoughts. How do you prepare for Dinosaur Ridge? A study or review of raptor identification is important, and that's what we'll try to hit. That's what we'll hit tonight. And before you go, you always want to check the weather and dress appropriately. It can be quite extreme up there with sun, wind, and cold. So you want to dress in layers, and lots of them. You know, sun hat, sunscreen. With the sun, you're looking south, so sunscreen's important. Lunch, water, binoculars. I like to take an extra box because the trail often, when the ice melts, creates a muddy path that's just impossible to get through. I mean, it just cakes on your boots, and it's just near impossible to get on. So I ditch my boots at the end of the day into that box. So that's that extra box you'll see. And then I put on some clean shoes to drive home so I don't, get the car all tripped. Well, anyway, then we'll drive to Dinosaur Ridge. A couple of the books that I wanted to share with you. These are two of my favorites. This is the one on the left is the Photographic Guide to North American Raptors. It's my first choice, most excellent, outstanding book. It just cuts to the quick. There is short, to the point ID marks for each. In the back of that book, this book, there are comparisons of dark raptors, comparison of those that have frosty heads, all kinds of things. So there's just really a good challenge in this book that, and it's all well described and talked about. So that's first. The second best book is this Hawks in Flight by Dunn, Sibley, and Sutton. That's got a great descriptions of each of the birds, but it's more reading, more in depth. Jerry Ligori has a couple of good books, probably more advanced than for us tonight. The Hawks at a Distance, as they can be picked out by shapes, size, some marks at a distance. You know, those little specks of color that we see off on the horizon. I'm not that good yet, but a lot of folks are. And if you're to that point, I think Jerry's books would be an awesome treat. So how do you get up to Dinosaur Ridge? How do you drive up there? Well, most of us will come up I-70, up Mount Vernon Canyon, and we'll get off at Morrison exit. It's exit 259. And at the end of the exit ramp, we'll turn left under the bridge. The first right is Matthews Winters Park. And that's where it'd be a good place to use the bathroom. And they have vault toilets down below the parking lot. There are no toilet facilities up on the ridge. So you'll just have to go down from the ridge if you need to go or use the restroom. The first left as you come off, the first right goes into Matthew Winters Park. The first left after the underpass is into Stegosaurus parking lot. You can see it's just adjacent to I-70. So here's the Stegosaurus parking lot with a red arrow, and the red arrows show the path and route on up to the Hawkwatch platform. It's a little over half a mile with an elevation gain of about 260 feet, and that's work. We take our time. It takes 35, 40 minutes needed to get up there, and you might need some traction controllers like microspikes, yak tracks, hiking poles. Probably would be handy, along with your binoculars and scope, to get up there. On the site, on the ridge, the hours of operation are, we have a 6-hour period of time before daylight savings time, which starts March 12th. So the 1st through the 12th of March, someone will be up there on the ridge from 9:30 to 3:30 p.m. That's 6 hours. And you're welcome to come or share two shifts. If you want to do a 3-hour shift from 9:30 to 1:30 or an afternoon from 1:30 to 3:30, that would be greatly appreciated. After daylight savings time starts, we extend into the afternoon to 5:30. So that makes for an 8-hour day and 2 shifts of 4 hours each. So the afternoon provides, there's more thermal activity going on. So there's more opportunity to observe raptors. Emma Riley is a designated official counter, and she takes a clipboard and pencil up there on the ridge. This year, she's going to try to enter the data via a tablet. So we're kind of excited. Well, we are very excited about this, and that would save a lot of time for her. She tallies the weather data, the temp, the wind, the sky, as well as all the raptors seen. And at the end of the day, she submits that data onto the hmana.org website or hawkcount.org, which HMANA runs. I like this time on the Ridge. The team dynamics are awesome. I look forward to team building opportunity that we have. There's a time of positive energy. When someone sees a bird and calls out "bird," everybody looks, and we go for the field marks. Rounded wings, square tail are called out, and the group discusses aloud and listens to what others have observed. And then discusses the possible raptor identification. Of course, the official Emma, the official counter, makes all final determinations for identification. And it's okay if we don't know and we can't ID a bird. That's going to happen, and that's just the way it goes. So we all know in our birding experience that we come across those kinds of things. There are three categories of help on the Ridge. The first is the official counter. That's Emma. She's up there Wednesday through Sunday, and she records. She's responsible for recording all the data up there. This is a look at the old pen and pencil worksheet. You can see times across the top and all the weather data down that first column. And the second chart shows the raptor species down the first column for every hour of the day. And so that's pretty much what she's going to fill in as the day goes along. The second category is observer. And that's where most of us are up there. We're going to be observers. They're needed every day of the week. And hopefully we'll all be committed to a regular schedule. We actively look for migrants, and we help Emma. We can track visitations, record the weather, whatever help she needs. 4-hour shift is or full day after daylight savings time, and let's see, 4-hour shift, that's standard time, and at daylight savings time we get an 8-hour shift. So it's 2 4-hour shifts from 9:30 to 1:30 and 1:30 to 5:30. So that's generally how we run it up there. And if once you decide on how you want to help, you can consult the Hawkwatch calendar. And I sent all of you a copy of this when I sent out my email. I sent you a link to the Hawkwatch calendar, and all counters and observers are listed, and you can access it to see who's on the Ridge and maybe what days you'd like to volunteer. And if you want to, you have a certain day in mind, just email Janet Peters. That was also her email was in that. Her email address was in that email that I sent out to all of you as well. Anyway, and she'll enter your name and email on the Hawkwatch calendar for the days you'd like to be up there. And you don't have to spend 4 hours. You can go up and spend an hour or two and come back. However you want to work it, just let Janet know. The last category is the spotter, and the spotter would help Emma as needed. Generally, that's not much of an issue. Everybody's up there observing and so on. The spotter could interact with visitors or count visitors and interact and let those visitors, the dog watchers, the runners who stop by know what's going on up there, and talk with them and encourage them to participate. This is a labeled panoramic photo of the west view from the Ridge, and all these geographic landmarks are important in that when we see a bird, we can say bird, Juniper Ridge, or so that others will know where exactly to look. Bird, West Ridge, Two Pines, two humps. Anyway, so and you can put this on your phone. I'll send these out to you so that you can have them as you'd like. There's also a view to the east side, the Green Mountain side, with the Green Mountain antenna and so on, so that when people call out a bird, you'll know where to look and how to get on it. At the end of the day, we'll collect and pack our gear, return to the car, change the muddy shoes, drive home, and Emma's going to enter the data on the website. We have, as I sent out to in my email to you, we have the orientation field day is this Saturday from 9:30 a.m. That's when we'll meet to 12:30 p.m. In the Stegosaurus parking lot. This is a DFO workshop field trip. So you must register for this trip on DFO's website, dfobirds.org. And it's also important when you register that you agree to the DFO's release of liability. If you're don't have an account with DFO, you have to create one in order to agree to the release of liability. But it's not anything that will undermine you in any way. So it's having an account at DFO. You won't be harassed or hassled with emails. DFO won't send those out to you. So anyway, it helps versus if a person doesn't do that, then I have to ask them to fill out a paper form at the parking lot, and that takes time and so on. So it really would be really wonderful of you to create the account and if you don't have one, and agree to that liability waiver. Well, I thought we could do a 5-minute break, but I think we're just going to move on to I'm going to switch my. Does anybody need a 5-minute break? Well, you can put it in the chat. Sharon, you could let me know if.
Yeah, there is a question in the chat, Dave,
Sure.
And that's from Andrew. So, Andrew, do you want to unmute yourself and just ask that question now?
Yeah, of course. Thank you. I was looking at the registration calendar, and I was curious if there's if there was a limit to how many people allowed per shift. So, while looking to sign up, is there an optimal number of folks you like to have at a time?
Well, no one's up there alone. We want always to be paired up. That's really important for safety and the whole bit. So, but no, there's no limit. When we go up, really, there's no limit.
Okay.
It can be kind of crowded, but if I think I've got like 20 people signed up for that field trip on Saturday, and all 20 of us can go up and fit on that ridge. We've had in excess of 30 up there at a time from a field trip, and we all fit. So you're welcome. It gets a little crowded, and that's not in the best interest of everyone. But 5 or 6 or 7 would fit well. 8, anyway, that number would fit really well. Just come on up and give it a try, and see what you think. And I think for the most part, if you look at the Hawkwatch calendar, you'll see anywhere from 2 to maybe 6 people. And some of those people that are listed are morning shift or afternoon shift. So it's really not too crowded up there. And you can usually find a good spot to stand and or sit and scan. So did that answer your question?
Looks like it did, Dave. And nobody else has a question. Everybody seems ready to keep going.
All right. Excellent. Well, here we are. In this presentation, we're going to learn to identify raptors. So welcome back. We'll anyway, just talk briefly about a few things before we get heavily into it. So what is a raptor? Well, raptors have hooked bills for tearing flesh and killing prey. They also have talons to kill prey and to defend themselves. They also have keen eyesight, very keen. And so those 3 factors go into making a raptor. We'll refer to this as we move along and see a few of these raptors. Well, a little thing about our thermal updrafts. We know the sun heats the land, and which in turn, the warm land heats the air above it, and the warm air, being less dense, rises, creating these thermal updrafts. And the raptors love it, especially the buteos, the broadwings. They take advantage of these thermals, these rising air currents. They'll circle up with these on these updrafts and then sail off, miles until they can get into another updraft. Raptors usually don't migrate over large water bodies. In fact, they go to extreme length to fly around water bodies because the sun doesn't heat the water as it does the land. So the thermals don't generate over a water body. There are also ridge updrafts. Ridge updrafts are drafts that occur when a wind, in this case from the left, hits the ridge and it goes up. It's called orographic lift. And we see this behavior often at Dinosaur Ridge. When you're up at the top of the ridge, often you'll see, or many times, you'll see birds coming right over the top of the ridge, taking advantage of these, just zooming right at treetop level with this using these orographic lifts. Just a thought about migration. Two kinds of migration, just to bring to your attention. The one on the left is often referred to as complete migration. This is the Swainson's hawk. We see it summers in North America. And at the end of the season, after it's nested, it will fly down to Argentina. So it's kind of a long-range migrant. There are also partial migrants, like a red-tailed hawk. The red-tail migrates from Alaska and Canada into the U.S. and often the U.S. has year-round red tails. So, or it does have year-round red tails. So there's not much of a migration. They stay up in the northern hemisphere. Okay. Here's a list of hawkwatch sites and the number of birds that have been observed over the years. You can see the sites around the U.S. These aren't all of them, all right, but they are. This one here is 4.5 million birds. Is at Veracruz, New Mexico. So put that on your bucket list. I believe the counters down there count by the hundreds as the birds come over with these hand clickers. It's just phenomenal what can be seen down there. At Dino Ridge in 2022, we observed 2,700 migrants. So we're not the best in the U.S., but we're unique. Dino Ridge is the only Hawks Watch site in Colorado. And it's a very important intermediary between Albuquerque to the south and the one in Montana up to the north. So let's see, how about let's get into some identification. Most beginning hawk watchers rely on the standard field marks. However, the field marks like color and wing markings are not always viewable on hawks passing the watch site. And that can be a result of many factors: distance, bright sky, and backlighting. So in this presentation, we'll refer to field marks from time to time, but the main interest is to familiarize yourself with more gestalt aspects of raptor identification. The purpose of field mark slides is to show any aspect of a bird that might be seen, which would, confirm an identification. So shape, size, and behavior. We'll try to focus a lot on that. That's going to be the focus. Our general impressions of size and shape, jizz. And if we do that, that little bird that's circled in yellow, anyway, here's a picture of a mixed kettle photographed in Veracruz. as they're coming over. So in addition to the circled hawk, there's a number of turkey vultures. So we can't name that hawk, but it's really easier than you might think. First, we've just got to learn the basic silhouettes and shapes of accipiters, buteos, falcons, and eagles. In accipiters, we can see short, roundy wings, long tail. Buteos, broad wings, front to back, short tail. Falcons, pointed wings, long tail. Eagles, plank-like wings. And I'll hit on that over and over as we go through. Raptor shapes again. Falcons, pointed wings. This one shows a tapered tail. Accipiters, rounded wings, long tail. Buteos, broad wings for getting those thermals, short tail. Osprey, M-shaped. Eagles, plank-like wings. Harrier, thin wings, long tail. And then we'll add turkey vulture. Turkey vulture is not really a raptor. It has kind of spindly talons and not much of a bill. It eats carrion, and so it's but it looks like a raptor, and so we include it in the raptors. We've got to distinguish it from the raptors, and so we just need to be aware that turkey vultures will be coming through and be able to identify them. Accipiters, our first group, they're forest-dwelling hawks. They're built for rapid flight and lightning quick turns with that long tail. They'll spread that tail and just do 90-degree turns in wooded habitat. They're got short rounded wings, a long narrow tail, and in migration, they exhibit intermittent flapping and gliding. So that's another key. You'll see a flap, 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 glide. Accipiters are built for maneuvering and fly, alternating flapping and gliding. Flap, 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 glide. Accipiters. Flap, 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 glide. There are 3 species of North American raptors that we'll see on Dinosaur Ridge. The smallest is the sharp-shinned hawk. It's blue jay sized. It's got a small head that doesn't project much beyond the wrists. See those hunched wings? And the head is tucked in between those hunched rings. So it has a smallish head and a long tail. The tail usually appears squarish, but not always, and sometimes with a notch. You know, it's hard to see that notch really, but the squarish tails sometimes is often, but we can't be fooled. You know, we never ID a bird on one field mark. So we always try to get multiple field marks. Hunched wings, short head, square tail, that pretty much cinches it as a sharp-shinned hawk. So the wing beats of a sharp-shinned, snappy, deep, rapid. Matter of fact, they're uncountable. So in flight, when you see a raptor flying, they have uncountable wing beats. You can't count that fast. They flap so fast. And that's a good way. You'll see flap, flap, glide, but try to count them. And that will distinguish this sharp-shinned from a Cooper's hawk, which is a little larger. It's a medium-sized accipiter. Again, accipiter, rounded wings, long tail. straight leading edge of the wing. They're not hunched like a Sharpie. So you see the head and the tail, you can also see is rounded versus sharp corners in a sharp-shinned hawk. Okay. Wing beats. Stiff, shallow, and slower. It's a bigger bird, so it's going to flap its wings more slowly. So flappa, 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 glide. So here are the two together, side by side. Squarish tail, sometimes notched, rounded tail of the Coopers, protruding head of the Coopers, small head, hunched wings of the Sharpie. Some people call this a flying T, the sharp-shinned, and the Cooper is a flying cross because of that head projection. Well, I should say, when the Cooper's hawk is flying, those wing beats are countable. So that's a really good clue. If you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, then you pretty much know you can lean towards a Cooper's hawk. Our largest accipiter is the northern goshawk. Again, rounded wings, long, heavy-looking tail, a chunky body like a 747, and again, slow, deep, heavy wing beats. We don't see many goshawks, but a few. Sometimes you can see the eyebrow, a white eyebrow on these birds. I don't know if it's flying fast. You might not be able to if you had your binoculars on it. But if the bird's close enough, here's one perched, and you can see that white eyebrow on the head, and that's kind of a clue too that you've got the goshawk. But it's a big, heavy-bodied bird. You can see the body there, how it looks from side to side. It's a pretty meaty bird. It's a bird of the forest. All right, our next group of birds is called the buteos. They are the soaring hawks. Soaring hawks, they're designed to utilize air currents to minimize their flapping. They're generally found in more open areas and characterized by the long, wide wings and the short, broad tail. They have perfect body structure for utilizing updrafts and thermals, and so that's what we'll see a lot. We see a lot of red tails on the ridge. They love to soar. That's our quintessential buteo all across the United States. Short tail, bulgy secondaries, and these patagials. Red-tailed hawk. We'll get in. We'll see some of those patagials again. Again, look at the bulging secondaries, short tail. You can't see patagials, but bulging secondary, shape of the wing. You know, that's really a clue to the ID. The belly band, you can see it here as it gets closer. Red tails have a belly band. So generally it has squarish wingtips, generally. These are the patagial bars, dark patagial. The patagium are the feathers that cover the leading edge of the wing, and only the red-tailed hawk has this. It also has a comma on the wing, but other birds have commas too. No other bird has a patagial, not that we see up at the ridge, has a patagial bar. Adults have brick red tails. The juveniles are barred with multiple bands and are brown. So what if we can't see these markings again? we got look at the behavior. So we're back to those silhouettes. We got to keep those handy. The silhouettes and the behavior. So notice, for example, on this silhouette, you see the bulging secondary? We can't see a red tail, but we see those bulging secondaries. Relatively short tail. So we know it's a buteo. Bulging secondaries kind of give it away as a red-tailed hawk, or kind of lean that way. Lean us to that kind of an identification. And what do we notice about this bird? Well, it's got a pretty broad wing. It seems to have bulging secondaries. It seems to be a buteo. And notice the attitude of the wing. It's got instead of straight out, it's uplifted a little bit. So it seems to have a slight dihedral. That means the wings are held slightly above the horizontal when it soars. So that's another good key. It just has that look when it's coming or going. This is what a dihedral looks like when the hawk is coming at you or going away. The slight uplift of those wings. Whereas we'll find that eagles have their wings, or the bald eagle does anyway, straight out. So again, jizz, attitude of the wing, shape, wing shape, so important. You can kind of see the patagium. That's a little look. The bulging secondaries are obvious. All right, and you see a broad wing, generally, not a thin little wing. Also, you'll see when they soar, they just soar in a very calm and steady fashion. You know, lazy circles in the sky, just like in the song Oklahoma. Okay, let's look at some more buteos. The broad-winged hawk is a chunky crow-sized buteo. And it has a kind of a flame shape to the wing. So wing shape's important. And they're held straight out from the body. This is an adult. You can see the banded tail. You can see the pale underwing. But the banded tail is really, if it flies overhead, if you see this, you pretty much know you've got a broad-winged hawk. These wide white tail bands, soaring flight, crow-sized, small bird. It's, I think a red tail is about 2.5 times bigger by weight of this bird. So it, again, is a smallish buteo. If we can figure the size, we have something to compare it to. Many flocks kettle during migration.
Dave, can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
Emily has a question.
Sure.
She's asking, do you need to have a scope or is it okay to have binoculars?
Well,
just binoculars.
Yeah. I always take my scope up there, and it's good to have binoculars. So with binoculars, let's see, it's you can get good looks when they're up close. When they're at a distance and you see specks, it can be pretty frustrating. So I learned a lot about my scope. That was really a nice training opportunity. When I first started Hawkwatch, I had my scope up there, and we'd see raptors way off, and it was quite a challenge. And it was to get the scope on those birds and to follow them in the scope. But it was good practice, and so I recommend you take both. You take both up there with you and see how it works for you.
But I
Again,
suppose if you don't own a scope, you should go anyway, because
Yeah.
someone else might have one up there that you could
totally,
take a look
totally.
at.
Yeah, and you bet. And I always share my scope if that's if someone would want to take a look or we get on a bird. And it's often difficult with birds moving in a scope. It's you're constantly moving that scope body as you followed along its flight. So it's a little tricky to do that, but it's good practice. But no, if you just have binoculars, come and enjoy too. And again, that's another reason why the jizz is so important. The general impression of size and shape. Okay. Well, here, the kettles, I don't know. Let's look, let's go on here. All right, another beauty here is our Swainson's hawk. We see this bird in the summer. It's this is a light morph, light bird. Some come dark. The note that it has dark flight feathers. These primary feathers and the secondary feathers in the wing are dark. And I've heard that the dark feathers are stronger, and it's interesting. So this Swainson's hawk was the one that I had shown the migration pattern, the complete migration from North America to Argentina. So you're looking at a bird here that goes 4,000 miles each season down to Argentina and then back to the U.S. another 4,000 miles. So it flies up under the prairies and the Pawnee and beyond, and nests, even nests in the city. So again, the wings held at a dihedral. We've got a brown bib, sometimes split, dark flight feathers. So those things would stand out in a view. Swainson's hawk. So here's another bird that's we see in the wintertime. This bird comes down from the Arctic and winters in the Denver metropolitan area. It's again a long-winged buteo. It has light and dark morphs. The light morphs show these dark wrist or called carpal patches, one on each wing, and a tail band. So I like that dark tail band. The dark tail band, the carpal patches here, they're a little dark. So here's another view of that bird. The rough-legged hawk, tail band, 2 carpal patches. So most of the birds are light morphs. We'll get some dark morphs, and you shouldn't be intimidated by them. So that'll just happen. So these carpal patches give that bird away. And also, this is a bird that will hover. There are not many raptors that hover. And this bird, when it's mousing or hunting, will often hover. So if you see a buteo that's hovering, chances are it's a rough-legged hawk, especially in the wintertime. Okay? Carpal patches, tail band. No, they also have a belly band, but that's so variable in this bird. Our next buteo is the ferruginous hawk. Here's an adult on the left, and if you look, you can tell the legs of this adult are orange or iron colored, and that's how this bird got its name. Ferrous, meaning iron, ferruginous hawk. So it has these rusty colors and tones in it. The one on the right is a juvenile, and you can see it has white leggings instead of the orange. Again, broad-winged. This is note just in flight here, note the body, another 747, kind of like the goshawk. At one point, ferruginous hawks were close to being classified as eagles, although they're substantially less in size. So broad body, long wings, tapered hands. Look at the wing and look at the hand of the wing. Do you see how that's tapered? So if you see that taper in the wing of a buteo, that's kind of an indication you might be looking at a ferruginous hawk. The adults are rusty. The juveniles are very pale white. And the comma at the wrist, you can see those commas, but be careful. A red-tailed hawk also has that if you're up close. Another real important field mark on these birds are for an ID. Each ferruginous hawk has 3 points of white visible from the top. The white is at the base of the primary feathers and the base of the tail from above. Every one of them, if you look at those, base of primaries, base of tail. Every one of those pictures shows that. 3 points of white. So that's another key identification for a ferruginous hawk. This is a dark morph ferruginous hawk. The wing is not, the tapered hands aren't so obvious in that picture, but if you look at it from the top, look at the base of the primaries, white, and the base of the tail. If we had a better view of that, or if we saw that, we would kind of indicate that would be a ferruginous hawk. The dark morphs are also seen in red tails, Swainsons, rough-leggeds, and broad wings. So, but we don't see very many of them. Those are just different kinds of birds. They're just, and sometimes they're just difficult. So I wouldn't go there right now with an ID. I'd work on these really clear, straightforward field marks that we're mentioning. Our next group of raptors is falcons. They're fast-moving raptors. They have sickle wings, long pointed wings, long tail, and they use powered rowing flight. Rarely do they soar, although some do. So there's always the exception to the rule, but not typically. Our littlest falcon is the American kestrel. So pointed wings, long tail, pointed wings falcon. Males just have spots on the breast, and we can't see the blue wing. The females have streaks. You can see them. Sometimes you'll see one perched up on a wire there at Dinosaur Ridge. So the birds are dimorphic. Each sex has a different plumage. So here's a good look at the male American kestrel. Blue wings. The female has a more subtle rufous back. The male also has a subterminal tail band, a real broad tail band. And the female has many bands across the tail. Sometimes when you see this bird fly overhead, you can see the little white dots in the at the tips of the towards the tips of the primaries, just inside from the tips of the primaries and secondaries, and those are called a string of pearls. They so you kind of watch. You see those white dots along the trailing edge in both genders. You know you've got an American kestrel. Next up is the merlin. It's a little bigger than a kestrel. Again, pointed wings, long tail. It's small, fast, and powerful. They have less contrast in the face than a kestrel. And some people call this bird a kestrel on steroids. I mean, it means business. They have wider wings. This is a tough bird, and you'll see it picking on other birds often. They have dark plumage across the top, like kestrels. The sexes are dimorphic. The male's dark gray, and the female's more chocolate brown. But they have a little wider wing next to the body, the banded tail, the pointed wings. So these merlins are often aggressive. And if you see one coming after a red tail, you can kind of guess it's going to be a merlin. So that's their behavior. They're just out of my way, get out of my way kind of a bird. They're tough ones. Okay. Our next falcon is peregrine. Again, has long pointed wings. And again, deep, powerful, fast flights. A couple of things. Note the underwing on a peregrine falcon. Note it's all checkered. It's the homogeneity of the underwing is without exception. So that's key. The underwing is totally even across with a checkering. Okay. Also, we'll note a key is, I don't know about that white breast, but you can see the dark malar and the helmet. So you can see this in flight if it's close enough. And again, the underwing, look at the checkering, is totally the same all the way across each wing. The dark mustachio stands out. It's heavily marked in the head and that mustachio. Yeah, like most birds, the immatures are streaked and the adults are barred in the breast. You can kind of tell them apart. The accipiters are kind of like that too. The juveniles are streaked. The adults are barred and they're red. But that's all right. That's maybe more detail than we want tonight. Okay, our next falcon is the prairie falcon. It's note its appearance up here in the upper right. It's sandy brown. It has a malar, but it's just nothing like the peregrine. It's got a slender malar, a brownish head, and a brown back. And also it has these dark wing pits, axillaries. So the wing is not homogeneously patterned. So if you see the wing with these dark axillaries, you've got yourself a prairie falcon. Sandy brown in color from head to tail. Also, if you can notice the tapered tail, I don't know, that's not diagnostic, but it's another little point if you can note it on the prairie falcon. Okay, so let's move on now to some big birds, the eagles. These are very large soaring birds with 6 to 7 foot wingspans with plank-like wings. Look at those wings, how they're held out. It's just like 2x12s. They're built big and they soar that way, just hardly a wing flap. This is an adult bald eagle. note the large protruding head with the bill. They've got honker bills, just huge bills, and that makes their head look really long and extensive. So the that protruding head compared to the tail is a good comparison. The long plank-like wings, they're pretty straight on the front and pretty straight in the back, just like a 2x12. Okay, and when they soar, they hold their wings straight out, flat. There's no dihedral in this with this bird. Immature bald eagles, you know, it takes 5 years for a bald eagle to reach adulthood, but the immature bald eagles are modeled in white. And the white can be anywhere. They can be on the body, on the wing pit area. If you see that in the wing pits and in the belly, you know, and you know you've got a bald eagle. The large protruding head and bill, that honker bill, the long straight wings. A flying plank. Our next eagle is the golden eagle. It's another large, dark soaring bird, but look at the wing. The wing is different. On a golden eagle, note the bulging secondary. Then you'll note a little curvature in the wing. So it's just not straight out like a bald eagle. And you notice because of the smaller size bill, the head does not project like a bald eagle does. You can also see on the nape of this bird, right behind the head, is the golden color where it gets its name. The golden feathers are present in every age of golden eagle. So we should see some, and that's neat to see the sheen. It's when you're up on the ridge, this will be obvious that you'll see, well, I would say 100%, but it's pretty cool when you know that you'll see that. So the head appears smaller, all right. It's got the bulging secondaries, the curvy trailing edge of the wing. And this bird holds its wings flat or in a moderate dihedral. So when you see it soaring, the wings are uplifted, kind of like a red-tailed hawk. This bird is a juvenile, and you see white on the juvenile. You see it, but only at the base of the primaries and the base of the secondaries. You don't see it in the wing pits or across the body. You also see it at the base of the tail. And some adults can show that, some of that white, but it's not modeled all over the body and underwing like it is for a red-tailed, or like it is for a bald eagle. So the gold feathers on the nape, a longish tail, a smallish head, a slight dihedral, the wings up. Are all indicators of golden eagle. Again, on a golden eagle, the white patches are restricted to the base of the tail and the base of the flight feathers. Again, they're not modeled throughout the underwing. So here's another picture on the right showing that same, a similar bird with the golden eagle with the white in it. Okay, so are you an eagle eye? Let's see. Who's who? What do we think? Here's a bird on the left, and here's a bird on the right. They're both big. My golly, they look like eagles, but I don't know which is which. Any thoughts?
You want people to unmute to
Well,
answer?
if someone would like to unmute and share, that'd be wonderful.
Now, Sarah Sprang is saying bald eagle on the left, golden on the right. So that's
Yeah.
her vote.
Good call. Absolutely. So these are both youngsters. And so you can see them modeling. You can see on the pterygials, the wing pit areas across the body. And often this is like a second or third year bald eagle will have, they're called white bellies. And so this would be a second or third year bald eagle. And again, the one on the right, you can see the golden nape a little bit. You can see white at the base of the flight feathers and the base of the tail only. So in that view. So nice job, Sarah. So here we go. And so we ask ourselves, just like we did, small head, large head, blotchy white, white patches, plank, dihedral. So there we go. Bald eagle, second or third year, immature, golden eagle. Probably immature with that, as much white as at the base of the tail. You can see the bulgy secondaries on the wing versus the straightish wing of the bald eagle. All right, how about some more big birds? Let's take a look at these. Here's another soaring bird we'll see up on the ridge. Look at that big hulking. Hey. So we'll see those dashing in and out all over the place. Well, this is a raven, and they'll catch our eye from time to time. But knowing their silhouette and behavior can save a lot of time trying to figure it out. But ravens are seldom alone. They do a lot of soaring. They love to fly. I saw one flying upside down once up on the ridge. It was crazy. I mean, they just love to roll and turn, but they're fun birds. So the sooner we realize that we've got a raven, the sooner we can return to our looking at actual raptors, but they're still fun to mark. Ravens, by the way, are 4 inches longer than a red-tailed hawk. They have 4 inches greater wingspan, 4-inch greater wingspan, and they're 8% heavier than a red-tailed hawk. So they are big birds. So we should just give them credit. Okay, back to raptors. All right, osprey. Osprey, they have a very distinctive shape, an M shape. They've got a white belly and head. You can see some carpal, see the wrist patches, dark carpal or wrist patches on that bird. And they also have that mask, a dark eyeline, like a Lone Ranger mask. And they're often confused with an eagle. A third-year bald eagle will have a mask, real similar to that. So we just got to be careful. But so you just look at the wing. So you see the thin wing and that white belly and the white in the wing. I don't know. We'll see. It's definitely not a bald eagle.
Dave, Natalie's asking, can you describe the rowing motion?
Rowing, like of a falcon.
For the raven.
Oh, the raven. The
Yeah.
rowing motion. Okay, a rowing motion is so they raise their wings up and forward, and then they come down and back. Up, forward, down and back. Like a rowboat. Like you would do with an oar on a rowboat. You put it down in the water, push, bring it up. So instead of just flapping up and down, they're rowing with their wings. Does that help? I hope.
Yeah, she said thanks.
Oh, great. You bet. So an osprey will sometimes snack. It's a fish bird, so it really, I don't know what this is. It's I don't know if it looks like a fish. Anyways, it eats fish, and sometimes you'll see them take their fish in talons, and they align that fish head first. It's just funny. It's strange how they do that, but they do. They line the fish head first in their talons as they fly off to a place where they eat it. Females, I don't know. This is a little trivia. So you can see the male down below has no necklace, and the female upper right has a necklace around the neck. So that's one way to separate the birds by sex. Just that's an FYI, and you probably never see that on the ridge. I never have. But ospreys show that crook in the wing, that M shape. Okay. So that's cute. And they have thin wings. They have thin, long wings. Lone Ranger mask. And this is kind of how you see them. So you can kind of see that M-shaped, thin wings. They're not roundy wings like an accipiter. They're long, thin wings. And with that M or W shape, however way you want to look at it. We also have Northern Harrier. They have long, narrow wings, long tail, slender body, but they fly with their wings in a steep dihedral. Those wings are way up in the air, and they have a clear rectangular white rump patch. So you can see that white rump patch, that white block of feathering at the base of the upper tail. You pretty much know you've got a Northern Harrier. Females and young harriers are orange-brown. The females, as they mature, develop these streaks in the breast. And so later on in the year, probably now, if you saw streaks in the breast, you know you'll have a female. The adult males are silvery white. They're gray above. They have black wingtips and also black at the tip of the secondary feathers. Their secondary flight feathers. The tips are black. They're often called the gray ghost. So here are a couple of harriers, and you see that, definitely you see that white rump patch, and you see the uplift of the wing. They're held high when they soar. This bird in the lower left here too, look at the wings are held up way high as they soar and harry their prey. And they're usually low flying around the grass, the tops of the grasses and cattails is how you'll see them. Here are several pictures of a Northern Harrier. Its Latin name is Circus cyanus. They're just familiar dihedral flyers. So we see the female, a male, the white rump patch. The white rump patch looks like a female, can't tell, it looks streaky. Another male here in the upper right, perhaps a male here. Anyway, so we can sex them. They're dimorphic, and get that ID with that white rump patch. Okay. Here's another bird. We're coming back to that. We talked about this bird not being a raptor because it didn't have talons and it hunts only for carrion. It's our turkey vulture. It's a very large bird, and it floats through the air slowly with its wings held in a pronounced dihedral. This one here is an adult, because you can see the red head, and you'll see this bird often rocking from side to side. It's kind of tipsy, Tommy Tippy. And it also has the silvery flight feathers, as opposed to the Swainson's hawk, which has the dark flight feathers, those strong black feathers that allow it to fly so long and so many miles in migration. So here they are again, two colors. So we can see a red head. You can see that up at the ridge. The silvery flight feathers, the dihedral. Long, broad wings. They have such broad wings. High dihedral, pale flight feathers, longish tail. Again, an adult with a red head. The juveniles have gray or dark heads. So here are two birds with bitonal wings. This top one has a dark body with light flight feathers, and the one below has a paler body with dark flight feathers. So again, this differentiates the two birds. The top one is our turkey vulture, and the bottom one is our Swainson's hawk. But look at the difference in the wing. Look at how broad that wing is on the turkey vulture and how narrow the wing is on a Swainson's hawk. So wing shape is key to a lot of raptor identification for the silhouettes. Once you get onto that, you'll just really appreciate that. Okay, so it's exam time. Let's see. So what I'd like you to do is get out if you turn your paper over or something, and number 1 through 8. And so I'm going to flash up 8 birds as they come flying up the ridge. And I want you to be able to, I want you to try to ID them. Now, as they fly by, I'm going to pretend I'm an observer up there on the ridge, and I'm going to call out what I see on it. And so hopefully that will give you a tip or a hint. Now they're going to come fast, kind of like they do on the ridge. We don't get much time on each bird, but hopefully we get enough time. All right. So number 1 through 8 on the back of your study sheet, and I'll start this quiz. Okay. Here we go. 1. All right, let's see. Gosh, look at that M shape, thin wing, long tail. Long tail here. It's coming closer. Oh my gosh, you see carpal patches, white body, carpal patches, M-shaped wing. Oh, here comes 2, another one. Look at the pointy wings, long tail. It looks like a falcon. What kind? I don't know what kind it is. What do we see on it? Well, it looks like a tail band. Oh my gosh. And I see a mallard. Oh, okay, I won't tell you here. Let's see. In 3, what do we see here? Oh, it looks like an eagle. And I see modeling under the wing. My gosh. Here, 4, pointed wings. It looks like another falcon of sorts.
Oops.
It's coming close. And look at the underwing. Look at that homogeneous underwing patterning. Oh, totally. And a helmet. We can see that up close as it flies over. 5, rounded wings, long tail. Oh, here comes another one. We can't count the flaps, but look at those hunched wings. Not much head projection, square tail. 6, here comes broad wings, short tail. Oh, I see patagial bars. The only bird that has that, bulging secondaries on that wing. 7, look at that long tail, must be an accipiter. Rounded wings, rounded tail, head projection, straight leading edge of the wing. 8, long tail. Oh, the bands in the tail. Flame-shaped wing. Aha. That's a clue. Okay. Well, let's see. Let's look at that first one. I don't know if I said that out. I shouldn't have. We got an osprey with the M-shaped. 2 was the American kestrel male. pointed wings, a falcon. 3, here's our immature bald eagle with the modeling under the wing and across the body. Here, 4, peregrine falcon, that underwing, the helmet. 5, hunched wings, square tail, sharp-shinned hawk. 6, patagial bars on the underwing, bulging secondary, short tail, red-tailed hawk. Okay, long tail, roundy wings, head going out, straight leading edge, Cooper's hawk. Banded tail, flame-like wing, broad-winged hawk. So I hope you all got 100% on that. At close. All right. So I have another one that I thought maybe we would go over together, kind of in closure. So let's do these one at a time together. So this first one, we see modeling of white, like in the patagiums underneath the wing, all through the wing. It looks like a long schnoz and head compared to tail. So we've got a bald eagle immature here. I don't see a white belly, but it's probably a 2nd or 3rd year bird. Okay, number 2. So this bird, rounded wings, long tail. It looks like a rounded tail, but look at that straight leading edge of the wing. So this is a Cooper's hawk. Those field marks make that. This bird, I see a string of pearls as it flies over. It's kind of looks like it's in a hovering position. It also has a banded tail with spots on the breast. Maybe we can't see that, but it also see a malar in the head. So we've got an American kestrel. That string of pearls says American kestrel. 4, banded tail, but pointed wings. Pointed wings make that a falcon. So let's see, what bird has that, and it has kind of a wide base of the wing with the tail. That's got to be a merlin. Okay, 5. So here's, I see a malar. I see pointed wings, which indicate a falcon. I see the underwing has black axillaries, black wing pits. So that would lean this one to the prairie falcon. I'm sorry, here I got a brain freeze. Yeah, okay. All right, this bird shows a homogeneously patterned underwing and a big dark helmet and malar. So make no doubt that is a peregrine falcon. Plank-like wings, nice head projection, white head and tail, adult bald eagle. Carpal patches, tail band, light morph, rough-legged hawk. A little bulgy secondary. They're nice long wings like planks, but they got bulging secondaries. And if I look closely, I can see a little nape of gold. So I would lean golden eagle on this one. Here, let's see, a short owl-like face. Can't see the wing attitude. So that could be a tough one. I don't see a white rump patch, but I'd lean on this one as a northern harrier with that owl-like face, thin wings. It'd neat to see it fly. All right, so some of those can be tough. So here we go, as a nice spread wing, looks like a reddish tail, looks like I see a patagial bar on each wing. So that cinches it as a red-tailed hawk. Broad wing, front to back. Here again, long wings, not a real honker head to a long tail. Also white at the base of the primaries, white at the base of the primaries, white at the base of the tail. So that's an immature golden eagle. All right, let's see, long tail that's squared off, hunched wing with not much head projection, rounded wings, accipiter. So that would lean towards sharp-shinned hawk. Now here's a good one. You can kind of see the wings are held up a bit, but the big thing is that block of white, that rectangle of white at the base of the upper tail. It's hard to see the owl-shaped face. So I'd lean that one as a northern harrier. Here's another tough one. Let's see. So, but I see a white here at the base of the tail. Thin wings. Looks like they're uplifted a bit. I would lean northern harrier on this as well. All right. Here's a bird. Let's see. I see that. Look at that wing. The tapered hands on the wing. I see orange leggings. Wide-bodied bird. Big, strong bird. They so the I would lean ferruginous hawk, and the orange leggings make that into an adult. Okay. All right, some caveats. Now that you know all the answers and you're ready to get up to Dinosaur Ridge and ID everything, let's keep the following in mind. So everything I've said today. So birds can change shape depending on the wind, the light, the reflection, the angle of view. And so let's keep that in mind. So that's not just black and white. So a falcon and a glide may spread its tail and soar on a thermal, even though they don't do it. There are always exceptions. Buteos straight overhead may look very different when you see them at an angle. And nobody's right 100% of the time. So for every rule, there's an exception. Like for a sharp-shinned hawk, you could have a rounded tail. I mean, every bird teaches us something. And so a key, once you think you've ID'd it, stay with the bird, see how it moves, see how it changes shape, how it looks at different angles, and take time to enjoy their beauty. The books that I recommended, I sent those out to those of you who registered with me. Again, I've listed them right here, but I think you've got this. There is a video. Just for FYI, Josh Haas is going to show videos. He has put out a video of raptors in flight, and he's going to share some of those with us next Wednesday, the opening day of Hawkwatch, March 1st. So Josh Haas will be on board with a webinar scheduled on the DFO website. And I gave you those who registered with me, I gave a link to that registration. So this would be another good one to watch. It would be a good to see them in motion and see what he has to say about them. So thanks again for coming. Thank you very much. And so bye-bye until next time. I don't know if there are any questions remaining. I hope I finished. Are we finished on time, Sharon?
We're doing pretty well with that 1 minute left.
Okay.
So if people want to unmute and ask a question, would that be okay, Dave?
Yeah, sure. Here, I'll put that bird up. Can you see that bird?
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to ID that bird in flight?
Ferruginous hawk.
Great. And what makes it that way?
The leggings are what showed me right away.
Good. Did you see the orange leggings? You picked that up. That's great. Okay. Great. Okay, so I'm back. All right, if there are any questions, Sharon? In the chat?
No questions in the chat.
Okay.
If anybody has one for Dave, though, feel free to unmute and ask your question.
Sure.
Hey, Dave, this is Natalie.
Yeah, Natalie, yeah.
Can you just review one feature on the Merlin that's particularly noticeable? Because I had a hard time with the Merlin and the Kestrel actually in that last quiz.
I see. Sure. Let's see. So it's a differentiation between a Merlin and a Kestrel, right?
Yeah.
I think for me, the Kestrel has more sickle-shaped wings. If you just look at the silhouette, they're thinner wing that's curved, and the Merlin has more. Let's see, more length at the, or doesn't have those sickle shape. The wing kind of sticks straight out from the body, and it flaps. The Kestrel does more rowing when it flies. You can see that rowing of the versus the Merlin. I think in motion, in flight, I think those are key to that bird. Also, the Merlin is dark, and the Kestrel, you're going to see some lightness to it, some a lot of white in the belly, or the whereas the Merlin is dark gray or dark brown. If you get, it just doesn't have that kind of distinctive ID that a Kestrel does. Like the Kestrel has the malar, and it's hard to see that. I know it's a tough one. Does that help, Natalie?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, you bet. You bet. Is there anyone else that?
You must have done a great job.
Oh, Sharon, you're too nice.
Because nobody has questions, so.
I have a quick
That's-
question.
that
Oh,
does it.
one more.
Well, anyway,
sorry.
yeah. So tune in, dial in to
Wait,
Josh Haas's
One
next
more,
Yeah.
Dave. One more
Okay.
question.
Hi, this is Shannon Campbell. Sorry.
Yeah,
So
okay.
for Saturday, we meet at 9:30
Yeah,
and bring lunch
yeah.
and go to the
bring
bathroom
our lunch.
beforehand for the long walk
Yes.
up the ridge. Okay.
Yeah, you bet. We'll meet as a group. We're going to be really thrilled. You'll be thrilled to have Jeff Barrick, who ran Hawk Watch for 7 or 8 years. He's a super, oh my gosh, he's awesome. He's so I'm just thrilled to have you meet him. He's going to join us on the field trip. We're also going to have experts up there. We'll have Ajit Anthony, who's been doing this Hawk Watch up there. We'll have his wife is a Hawk Watch expert. I mean, so there will be Carol Swiklinski will be there. And Janet Peters, the other co-chair of the Hawk Watch committee. Anyway, it's going to be a talented pool, much beyond me. So you'll really enjoy this, I think, once we get up there. So and the whole route, and meeting Jeff too. Jeff Barrick worked at Vera Cruz for years, counting these hundreds of birds. It'd just be fun to talk with him about his experience. Anyway, he's a multi-talented guy. So anyway, 9:30.
One more.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay.
How late will we stay there?
Well, you can leave anytime. I wrote 12:30 up there. We'll just see what it's like. Last year, I didn't think, it's always a crapshoot, you might say, when you get up there. Are we going to see any birds? Are they going to be up there? Well, last year, oh my gosh, it was a menagerie. The red tails were showing off, and I mean, it was a delight. A total delight beyond my wildest expectations. Well, when you go birding, sometimes you just don't see many passerines, or you just walk all day and you see few birds, but it could be that way. I have no guarantee, but you're welcome to leave anytime. And it's supposed to be a good day. The weather's 40 to 50 degrees. The winds are going to be 10, I think, with gusts to 15. So that could be an issue. But anyway, fingers are crossed for a great field trip on Saturday. And then we'll try to connect with those geologic field marks and talk a little bit about Hawkwatch again. So